Okay, today we're looking at lesson three, assignment three, and there are 10 questions in assignment three using trig ratios to find side length. I'll go through each question today, and hopefully you have done these questions already. If not, here are the complete solutions. I would suggest you try them first before looking at the solutions here. So let's review what we've done so far in lesson three. In the previous lesson, we looked at the trig ratios, and we said when we don't have two sides of a right angle triangle, we cannot use a Pythagorean theorem. We need two sides to find the third side. So generally what we'll have is an angle on one side, and this is where we're going to use the trig ratios. And there are three of them. Sine, which is the length of the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over the hypotenuse. And tangent is the opposite over adjacent. The first thing you want to do whenever you are pursuing any of these questions is to label the sides of a triangle. Yesterday, the last lesson, we looked at labeling the sides is critical, and what you'll use to label the side is the angle, theta, is a Greek letter, which is a missing angle. And using that reference angle, you use it to label your sides. In this case, we have theta, the side opposite to the angle given, or missing angle, is the opposite side, and the side adjacent to it is called the adjacent side. Note the hypotenuse is always the side opposite the 90-degree angle. Same as the one over here. We have adjacent side, we have the opposite, the angle and hypotenuse. Then we looked at a couple of examples yesterday. And all of these examples, you need your calculator, and your calculator must be in degree mode. I showed you yesterday with the graphing calculator that I used. I make sure my calculator is on, and I use a mode. And in your calculator, it probably will not look like this, or unless you have a graphing calculator. But you will see it says in some of the calculator you have will have probably gradient, radiant, and degree. You see R, G, and D. You want it to make sure you are in degree mode. I have there. So the first step in solving these questions is label your sides. So step one, you label the side of a triangle, and you use your angle within the right angle to label your sides. So the side opposite this angle here is called the opposite side. The hypotenuse is the side opposite the 90 degrees, and the adjacent side is the side adjacent to the angle. So you write what's given, and the third thing we'll do, we'll select our trig ratio. So we'll want to have our trig ratios in front of us, which are these three here. And should highlight the third one here. So these are your three trig ratios. So once you label, you write down what's given, what needs to be found, and then you go to your trig ratios to find if there's a match. Just put this beside here. And in this example, we have an angle. So we could use any one of these three here, an angle. We're given the hypotenuse, So these cosine and sine, the only two that have a hypotenuse. So tangent we know is out. But we want to find the adjacent side. So out of these two here, the ones that have adjacent and hypotenuse is the cosine. So therefore we use the cosine. Once we have our trig ratios set up, we now substitute our given into our trig ratio. In this case, I have 72 degrees. I'll put where theta is, that's your angle. And adjacent we don't know, so we label that adjacent as x, and the hypotenuse tells us 29. And then we solve for x. Now, you go to your calculator. And in this case, I follow through as you have your 29. In case enter, I have 8.96. Leave your answer to 2 decimal places, and always remember to indicate your unit. So that's what we did yesterday. So today we are going to go straight into looking at these questions in assignment 3, trig ratios. I realize not much space on these here, but we'll work our way through these questions. So I'll move this over here so I can have the trig ratios beside me. So they ask us to find the length of side x. So these are the ones we need to find. So I have my trig ratios beside me, so to help to guide me as to which one of these three I should select. Remember these, you can recall these by the acronym SOHCAHTOA, sign. So SOHCAHTOA, you'll hear that term regularly. So let's begin with question 1. So question 1, we have a reference angle of 38. So step 1 is to label the side. So the side opposite here would be opposite, but they're not asking us to find opposite, but we'll label it nevertheless. This is your adjacent side, and this is your hypotenuse. So we're asked to find the adjacent side when we're given the hypotenuse. So I go to my trig ratio here, and where do I see adjacent and hypotenuse? So I go say opposite and hypotenuse, and that's not there. We looked at adjacent and hypotenuse, here's cosine. So we use the trig ratio cosine theta. We can't use tan because it's opposite and adjacent, and we're looking for hypotenuse and adjacent. So we'll have here cos, just remove this here because I don't need it. So we have cos theta is equal to opposite. And it's a good habit to write your trig ratio so to remind you what you're using. And now I substitute what's given into my trig ratio. So I have cos is 38 degrees equal, now opposite is adjacent. So my adjacent is x, over my hypotenuse is 5. So now x, so x is equal to 5 cos 38. So I go to my trusted calculator, and okay, get a good view of it here. And I'll input exactly what I have there. clear my calculator for now. So I have 5 cos 38. Enter. I have 3.94. So x is 3.94. In this case, we're looking at meters. So let's look at question 2. So this is my angle here. So this is opposite and adjacent. So I'm asked to find the adjacent side. So back to my trig ratios here. I'm looking to find which one of the trig ratios have adjacent and opposite. And the only one is tangent. So I'll write 10, 64 degrees. So x is equal to 11 over 10, 64, which gives me a result of 5.37. So I'll show you go to my calculator. I'm going to put 11 divided by 10, 64. And that's 5.36. Now I round it 2 decimal places, so this could be 5.37. So 5.37 kilometers. Okay, the third question, we have our angle here. So this will be the opposite, but I've been asked to find the adjacent side, which is the side beside the angle, and this is the hypotenuse. So the trig ratio where we have adjacent and hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse will be cosine. So this will be cos 43 degrees. Now, I'm running out of space here, so I may have to change cos here. And this is my hypotenuse here. So I have cos 43 degrees is equal to -19. So through algebra, I get x is equal to 19 cos 43. So x is equal to, go to my trusted calculator again, and I have 19 cos 43. And give me 13.895. So I'll run to 13.90 feet. Okay, let's move on to example 4. Example 4, I have angle. I'm asked to find here the opposite side. And I'm given the adjacent side, one angle. So opposite and adjacent, go to my trig ratio over here, and that to be tangent. So this will be 10. My angle is 10 to 3 is equal to the opposite, which is x over 56 millimeters. So x is equal to 56 10 7 to 3. So x is equal to Let's go to my calculator here. So 56, 10, 73, 183.17. Round up to 2 decimal places. So because of 6 falling to 67, which is greater than 5, I round 6 up to 7. So 183.17 millimeters. Okay, let's go to the next one. Example 5. Here's the angle. Here's my opposite side. Here, asked to find the hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse will go to a trig ratio. So if you look at the trig ratio, opposite and hypotenuse, it's sine. So we can say here sine 37 is equal to opposite, which is 27 over x. So use your algebra, we say x is equal to 27 over sine 37. It's equal to my trusted calculator. So I have 27. So 27 divided by sine 37. This gives me 44.86. So 44.86 inches. Okay, the next example, question 6. We are given the opposite side, and we have to find the hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse will be sine. So I have here sine 24 degrees is equal to 18 over x. So x is equal to 18 over sine 24. I'll extend this over here. So we have that to be, so x is equal to, go to my calculator again. Clear. So I have 18 divided by sine 24. Gives me 44.25. This here is yards. So and here we have the remaining questions. We'll have about 4 more to go. So question 7, here's our angle. So we label a side opposite first, and we're asked, that's what we're finding, and we're given the hypotenuse. So remember, this is the opposite because it's opposite this angle here. So opposite and hypotenuse, it goes back to our trusted sine here. So sine 59 degrees is equal to, the opposite is, we don't know, over the hypotenuse is 15. So x is equal to 15 sine 59. So x is so we have 15 sine 59 close bracket give us 12.85, so we run to 12.86 meters. Question 8, angle opposite, and we have our adjacent side that's given. So we'll solve this one opposite and adjacent, which is tangent. Opposite and adjacent tangent. So we're going to use our tan. So tan 20 degrees is equal to opposite x over adjacent 29. So x is equal to 29 tan 20. Now let's go to our calculator here. And so we have 29 tan 20, 10.56. 10.56 centimeters. Question 9, here's our angle. We have opposite side, and we asked to find the adjacent side. And this will be the hypotenuse which we're given. So we're given the hypotenuse, the angle, and we need to find the adjacent. So adjacent and hypotenuse, that will be cosine. So we'll use the cosine. So a little bit here. So cosine 27 degrees is equal to adjacent, which is x over hypotenuse 54. X is equal to 54 cos 27. So x is equal to, my calculator here, and that worked out to be 54 cos 27, 48.11. And that's in miles. And our final question, question 10, angle, you're given the opposite, and you have to find the hypotenuse. Opposite and hypotenuse would be sine. So we have sine 41 degrees is equal to opposite, which is 38 over the hypotenuse x. So x is equal to 38 divided by sine 41. So let's go to our calculator. So 38 divided by sine 41 gives 57.92. Shillings. Okay, so those are the assignment questions you had for 3. At this point, you should be able to finish the first page of the hand-in assignment number 2. Our next lesson we looked at is lesson 4, and that's using trig ratios to find angle measures. So here we're using to find just the side. The next lesson, which is tomorrow, we looked at using trig ratios to find angle measures.